Before we dive into today's episode, we want to make a quick but important disclosure. The information and advice shared in this podcast are intended to provide general knowledge and understanding about wellness and health-related subjects. They are not intended to replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified health provider with any questions that you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new health regimen. Remember, your health is your responsibility, and it's always best to consult with a healthcare professional.
This isn't just another podcast, it's a deep dive into the world of beauty, wellness, and longevity. Now, we're here to discuss what beauty really means beyond just appearances. We'll also talk about wellness, the habits and practices that keep us healthy, full of energy. And we'll explore the topic of longevity, looking at the science and realities of living a long, fulfilling life. So sit back, relax, and join us as we go beyond the mirror.
Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Mirror. Today, I am so excited to have Kati Tayon with me. Kati is an experienced esthetician that is here. We want to specifically talk about IPL, BBL, V-beam, all this, because there's so much confusion out there about this particular style of laser, and Kati does a ton of IPL, and I thought she would be a great person to hit this subject matter with, and a good expert and a good results getter. So, and I think that's a big part of our conversation today. So let me start by saying, tell me a little about how you ended up being an esthetician even. Like what motivated that?
I'm not gonna lie, I actually didn't know what an esthetician was, other than when I met you, 11 years ago?
Yeah,
11 years ago?
We were friends first.
Yes, and I completely forgot what an esthetician was, and it wasn't until the last office I was in that I saw the aesthetic side and the results that were given, and I just really knew I wanted to help people, and I didn't know how. So I've been in the medical field for many, many years, and I'm just excited I found my calling finally.
Yeah. So when you were, before you were an esthetician, what kind of medical were you doing? Because it did kind of lead you in this direction.
Mm-hmm, it did. So I started out at a research company where I met my husband. And then after that, I worked in proctology, I worked in cardiology, and then I worked for a vein specialist that kind of dabbled in a bunch of different things and was able to find out what a real esthetician was, and I was hooked.
Yeah, I bet.
I love it.
Because you were doing lasers early on in your journey, and they are kind of addictive.
Oh, they're so much fun. When I tell people I geek out for lasers, they really don't know what I mean. And so then, of course, I have to go into all of it. And then I get very animated because it's just awesome. And there's just so many things you can do with lasers. It's just amazing. I'm a nerd for it.
There you go. It's perfect. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
So let's talk specifically about IPL. So when you have a client laying on the bed and you've been doing facials or whatever they have as a precursor to leading to this laser, let's say, what things do you see on a person that makes you go, okay, this person needs IPL specifically?
Yeah. So definitely when doing the skin analysis, I look for hyperpigmentations. I look for broken capillaries, enlarged pores, texture, tone, pore size, all that stuff. And then depending on what Fitzpatrick scale they're at, I'll definitely recommend and say definitely need about 3 treatments, minimum of 2. And yeah.
And then usually what indication is on their skin that makes you say IPL is the best for you have blank?
I'll look for the hyperpigmentation all around the face, see if it's on one side more than the other, or if it's just maybe freckles, and then know that I can pull it up from there.
Okay, so most people don't know hyperpigmentation. So if I was an ordinary person,
okay.
What is that?
Yes. So they can look like freckles. They'll just be brown splotches. Some can be darker, some can be lighter, more superficial, more deep. And then usually I don't nitpick people, and I tell them I'm not trying to hurt their feelings, but they're like, tell me what I need. And so I was like, okay, well, you have hyperpigmentation around the forehead, top of the nose, any veins that we need to try and close that they're self-conscious about.
Like rosacea too.
Rosacea as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so then when you're explaining IPL to the client,
Mhm.
how do you explain what that process is going to be like for them? So they're going to come in, and what will happen next?
Yeah, so I love IPL, stands for intense pulse light. It's great for, like I said, that hyperpigmentation, texture, tone, pore size. But I'll tell them it's a very quick procedure. I'll cleanse their skin prior. Then I will put ultrasound gel over the areas that we are treating. It will feel like a rubber band snap. That's the best I can think about it. And even though you have goggles on, it's going to be a very bright light. But I promise it will be worth it.
And it's fast.
It's so fast.
It just takes no time.
Less than a half an hour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, and then when they leave here, what usually happens after IPL?
So you can definitely become red. I know every time I get an IPL, my cheeks will be a little bit red. It can take about 4 to 6 weeks to see your full results, more so closer to the 6 weeks. And then you can possibly get superficial crusting. It sounds very disgusting, but I promise it's not. It can look like little coffee grounds. So that hyperpigmentation that was on your skin, it will start to pull up to the surface, and it'll look like coffee grounds.
Yeah, coffee grounds is a perfect description.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect description for that. But I usually say 3 is best. Definitely want minimum of 2 because we'll work at a more
shallow level and then a deeper level or something like that.
Yeah. So I usually say that first one, depending how everything is, we'll do that more deeper level. So then it can have things, all that hyperpigmentation pulled up. And then that second one, we can do a little bit more powerful. So it's able to pull up the rest of that. And then I usually say the third one for cleanup. But I like that it just gets down at like that molecular level.
Yeah, it is a deeper laser.
Yeah, and it can just change those cells, help collagen, all that fun stuff.
And after someone's done a series, how often do you usually see them back for a touch-up?
Well, depending on what type of, if they're wanting to clear it all, I would say a series of 3 to 5, but then could be every 6 months, or maybe after that once a year, depending on how much they're exposed that summer, of course.
Yeah, that is definitely the secret.
Yes.
It's like how much sun did you get is going to be equal to how often we're going to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how much pigmentation.
Not that when you come and do your initial, you're pulling off, 10, 20 years of pigment the first time. Mm-hmm. So the first time does tend to be more dramatic. Mm-hmm. But then when you're doing your maintenance down the road, you don't have as much fallout. You're just kind of cleaning up what might have popped up in the year or two that you did since you did it last. Mm-hmm. And so it's not as intense. And, it also gives you a little boost of collagen, which is amazing. Yes. And so you have all of that happening as well. But it is definitely if someone comes with discoloration, it is such a dramatic before and after.
It is.
And it's not just the face.
Mm-mm. Nope, all over the body. Literally, as long as you have skin other than your scalp, you can IPL.
Right. And so you've done like a lot of like chests and arms and backs and mm-hmm. all kinds of things. But you did mention that Fitzpatrick, so that is like the skin color of the client. So there are certain skin colors that should not have IPL.
Yes.
So the darker you are, the less safe it is for you to have that as a service.
Oh, yeah. Because you can definitely, because I feel like I'm a good 3 if I would get too much.
You got that Italian going on in you.
But definitely if I were to be a sun goddess throughout the summer, I would not be a candidate by any means. Because right. The darker you are, the more likely you could be possibly burned. And hopefully, as you're going, I would say definitely do your research before deciding to go somewhere.
Okay, so there are lots of different technologies out there. There's IPL, and there's BBL, and there's V-beam. Now, V-beam uses pulse dye, which is different, more unique. It might be good for someone with severe rosacea, but that's not most people. IPL and BBL are pretty similar, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But I think theoretically what we've noticed at the end of the day, the thing that makes or breaks an IPL is the person pulling. Yep.
Pulling that trigger.
100%. 100%. So like Katie says 3 to 5, but I honestly believe that most of our clients look great after what? 2.
Definitely. Definitely.
And I think most places that compete with us, that's more like 4 to 6 to get the same result. And that's all about the experience of the technician, the quality of the laser. Did they have IPL at the last place you were at?
They did. It was a diode.
Okay.
And I feel like even when I